Welcome to the Student and Parent Returning to School Guide for Plan A and Virtual Academy families. In this short 20-minute video, you will find all the necessary information for students to begin in-person learning or remain on virtual academy learning for beginning Thursday, April the 8th. This section covers our return to school information for all students on our traditional calendar. Beginning Thursday, April the 8th, the Board of Education will transition all high schools to either a Plan A in-person learning or Virtual Academy remote learning. Most classes during the fourth quarter are either Plan A or Virtual Academy exclusively. Due to student schedule changes, some courses or sections are offered as blended learning. All students are expected to begin their current course schedule on Thursday, April the 8th. Bell schedule will remain the same for Plan A and Virtual Academy students. Here you will find the bell schedule where we will begin instruction for first block at 7:25. Our day ends at 2:18. And our Plan A students have an on-campus lunch between 10:30 and 11:05 a.m. Key points for Plan A daily attendance. A student is considered present if a student is present for at least one half of the school day that includes school activities that may be off campus with principal approval. If a student does not attend on a scheduled in-person day, the student is marked as absent. Student who does not attend on a scheduled in-person day due to quarantine related to a COVID-19 diagnosis or exposure will be marked as absent. Documentation related to the quarantine should be submitted to the attendance office. Daily attendance for all remaining asynchronous days remains the same for all Plan A students. Key points for Virtual Academy attendance. A student is considered present if a student does one of the following: is present during synchronous or live instruction, submits daily assignment online or offline, has daily check-in or two-way communication with their teacher. If a student does not complete any of the three tasks, the student is marked absent. Daily attendance for remaining asynchronous days is the same for Virtual Academy students. Here you will find the remaining asynchronous days for this school year, as well as the remaining teacher work days for the fourth quarter. Our next section covers our 3 Ws: wear a face mask, wait 6 feet apart, and wash hands often. Faculty and students on campus and visitors are required to wear a face mask under the following conditions: while on campus, both for indoor and outdoor activities, while attending or participating in a school-sponsored event, while riding on a school-sponsored vehicle transportation, which is a school bus, activity bus, or some other special transportation. You may submit a medical accommodation for a face covering if approved. If your current face covering is lost or malfunction, please request a disposable face mask from your teacher immediately. Students will receive a pack of 5 reusable cloth face coverings on the first day on campus from their first period teacher. Students should rotate to a clean face covering each day when reporting to school. Whenever possible, students should remain a safe distance from employees, other students, and visitors at all times while on campus. Hallways have been marked as one directional during all class changes. Students should not congregate during arrival, dismissal times, and in collaborative spaces. In addition to collaborative spaces, the cafeteria, auditorium, and media center have limited to no access for students during this school year. Students should wash their hands often with soap and water for 20 seconds and will be permitted to do so during the school day. Students also have the option to use hand sanitizer when soap and water is not available. Hand sanitizers are located at the exterior doors of each building, in every classroom, and every collaborative space. In order to minimize communal spread, students will not share classroom or personal materials with other classmates. This next section covers our arrival and dismissal each day. Students will be allowed in the building beginning at 7 a.m. Students should check temperature and health at home each morning. Daily health screenings will no longer be conducted by faculty and staff here at Millbrook High School. Students experiencing symptoms or diagnosed with COVID 19 should remain at home and report illness to a faculty member or staff member. Students, once in the building, should follow one way directional hallways and report immediately to first period. At 2:18, student dismissal will begin on a tiered bell system. On the first bell, students who ride afternoon buses and students who walk to campus will be dismissed from fourth period. Students should immediately report to the bus and load afternoon bus routes one at a time. Unless directed by a bus driver, students will fill the bus from the rear seat to the front. On the second bell, students who drive to school or participate in carpool will be dismissed from fourth period. Students should immediately report to student parking lot or front of school for carpool. Unless otherwise participating in an after-school activity, students should leave campus by 2:30 p.m. Students waiting in the front of the school for carpool must practice social distancing and wear face coverings at all times. On the third bell, students who participate in after-school activities that begin at 2:30 p.m. should report immediately to a faculty sponsor or coach. Students will not be called from class for early dismissal after 1:45 p.m. Parents must remain in carpool after 1:45 p.m. to retrieve students from school. This next section covers our daily classroom procedures to keep your students safe. Teachers will have classrooms organized for minimal social distancing for students and the teacher. Students must remain in assigned student desks unless teacher provides permission to move throughout the classroom. Students will be seated facing in the same direction during instructional class periods. Students should not share materials and supplies with other students or peers and continue to bring personal laptops or device to class each day. Disinfectant supplies will be provided to each teacher to support cleaning desks and other high-touch areas in the classroom. Other high-touch areas will be cleaned by daytime custodial staff multiple times during the instructional day, and all classrooms will be sanitized by our evening custodial staff. During class changes, students will follow one-way directional arrows for traffic patterns in each area of the campus. You'll be defined by the red arrows. Directional hallway maps are located in each classroom for a specific area of the building. Stairwells in the main building are also marked with a specific direction, either up or down. Exterior doors for each campus building will have signs denoting either as an entrance or an exit door to support one-way directional traffic. During class change, students will not be permitted to use restrooms unless you have a Millbrook High School restroom pass provided to you by a teacher. Students must have a pass from a teacher in order to use the restroom, even during class transitions. In order to support social distancing, no more than 3 students are permitted in the restroom at any given moment. There will be 3 hooks outside of each student restroom, and each student is expected to hang a Millbrook restroom pass that they receive from their teacher on an empty hook prior to entering the restroom. When students have completed utilizing the restroom and washing hands, they should take the hall pass and return it back to their classroom teacher. If there are no empty hooks available outside the student restroom, students should wait outside of the restroom until a hook becomes available. Students are not permitted to drink directly from any water fountains. Water fountains should be used as a water bottle filling station only. Students are strongly encouraged to bring their own water bottles with their names clearly labeled on them during the school day. Under no circumstances should students share water bottles at any time. If a student does not have a personal water bottle, they should ask a staff member for a disposable cup, which can be used at the water fountain. Cups should be disposed of in the trash after usage. This section will cover our breakfast and lunch deliveries for students. All meals, both breakfast and lunch, will be provided at no cost to every student for the remainder of the school year. Breakfast will not be served in the cafeteria this semester, and any student who wishes to eat breakfast must retrieve breakfast outside of the lower cafeteria entrance. Once students receive breakfast, they will report to first period to consume the breakfast, and they will follow directions of the teacher to adhere to safety protocols while eating. Once students receive breakfast from their location, students will report to their first period class to consume the breakfast, and again follow the protocols from their teacher while eating breakfast. Please remember, once the face mask is removed to eat, students may not talk to anyone while eating breakfast. When breakfast is complete, students will return the face mask back to their face, dispose of their trash, and sanitize their hands in the classroom. Students arriving on a late bus and request breakfast will be coordinated through our campus hallway monitor, gift services receptionist, and the administrator on call. Students will not utilize the cafeteria for lunch this school year. Juniors and seniors with off-campus lunch permits may leave campus during lunch period. All other student lunches will be in the same room as your second period class. The campus lunch period will begin at 10:30 and end at 11:05 a.m. At the beginning of the second period, students will order lunch with the second period teacher. Students are permitted to bring lunch to school. However, no appliances will be made to heat student lunches. Cafeteria staff and other faculty members will deliver ordered lunches to every classroom. At 10:30, all instruction for second period will cease to begin the lunch period. Students will follow directives from teachers monitoring lunch with these items: hand sanitizing prior to the beginning of lunch, delivery of lunch to students who ordered from the cafeteria, removal of face coverings to eat lunch, no talking and less than 15 minutes, disposal of trash, preparation for class change to third period. Food deliveries for lunch will not be accepted at guest services. This includes lunch delivery from parents or other companies such as Grubhub or DoorDash. Seniors and juniors may not bring food back on campus. Vegetarian options are also available each day for a lunch order. This section will cover students who are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 on campus. Students should check temperature and daily wellness prior to coming to school each day. Students should remain home and quarantine if they are diagnosed with COVID-19, identified as being in close contact with a confirmed case, or experiencing symptoms related to COVID-19. Symptoms include fever, chills, new cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, loss of taste or smell, running nose, headache, sore throat, diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. Students who are experiencing at least one of those symptoms of COVID-19 may not return to school unless they have a negative PCR test, an alternate medical diagnosis, and it has been 24 hours since the fever without fever reducing medicine, or they can answer yes to the following questions. Has it been 10 days since the last symptoms? Has it been 24 hours since the student has not had a fever? Have symptoms improved, including cough and shortness of breath? If students experience symptoms during class, they will be escorted to our COVID care center. Once students have been removed from class and assigned to the COVID care center, students and teachers will be relocated to the collaborative space while the custodial team will immediately clean and sanitize the classroom. Upon arrival to the COVID Care Center, which will be in 126 or 218, the supervisor will contact parents or guardians along with the administrator on call to inform them that their student is there and needs to be picked up from school immediately. Students will remain in the care center until retrieved by parents and guardians on the service road by the 200 building. A staff member will be located in the care center with students at all times. Staff members supervising the care center have been trained by the Wake County Health Services staff in monitoring both the care center and dispensing medications as needed to students who are assigned to the care center. Students relocated to the care center will not be permitted to ride on Wake County transportation vehicles. Students must be retrieved by parents or guardians as soon as possible to ensure health and safety of all staff and students. Students are permitted to participate in live instruction and complete care classwork in care center while awaiting parents and guardians. Any siblings of students relocated to the COVID care center must also return home and comply with health codes for student returns to school. This next section covers quarantine protocols and different timelines. Any student that has tested positive for COVID 19 or been diagnosed or been designated to quarantine due to exposure or close contact with a person confirmed with COVID 19 must report information to school officials, a teacher, counselor, support staff, or administrator. Middlebrook High School staff will report information to health services and the Wake County Public School Health Department when appropriate. Depending on reporting events, student must quarantine from all Wake County facilities, Wake County Public School sponsored events, and Wake County Public School vehicle transportation. If a person with COVID 19 was in a Wake County facility while infectious, the system will coordinate with local health officials to notify anyone who is in close contact with the affected person. Wake County Public Health will determine through contact tracing who, if anyone, will need to quarantine. Any student who has been requested to quarantine will still have access to academic work from all teachers. Parents must contact the teacher to request work based on student illness policy. If a student is not able to complete work based on the severity of symptoms related to COVID 19, families should concentrate on the wellness of the student. Middlebrook High School will continue to work with families and teachers on completing assignments in a timely manner. Our first level of quarantine is a 10-day quarantine. And a 10-day quarantine is a student who is positively diagnosed with COVID 19. A student who is experiencing at least one symptom related to COVID 19. And a student may return if they are symptom free without any fever reducing medicine at least 24 hours at the end of the 10-day quarantine, receive a diagnosis from a healthcare professional identifying symptoms as unrelated to COVID 19, receive a negative PCR molecular COVID 19 test. Our next level of quarantine is a 14-day quarantine. A student who is exposed close contact with a confirmed case of COVID 19 will be asked to quarantine for 14 days. A student may not return prior to the 14-day quarantine, even with a negative PCR molecular COVID 19 test. Again, the CDC defines close contact as within 6 feet of a confirmed case for a cumulative total of 15 minutes over a 24-hour period, 2 days prior to the onset of symptoms. For an asymptomatic confirmed case, it is the same timeline from when the PCR molecular COVID 19 test was taken by the infected person. And our last quarantine timeline is a 24-day quarantine. And this is a student who is currently living in the same household with a person confirmed with COVID 19 or experiencing at least one symptom and is currently not experiencing symptoms. Quarantine timeline includes the 10-day time period for the infected person and the 14-day time period for exposure when the infected person initial quarantine has concluded. Student may return prior to the 20-day quarantine based on the same return requirements of anyone quarantining based on confirmed infection or being symptomatic. And our final section talks briefly about student accountability and required health protocols. Students again are responsible for understanding and complying with all health and safety procedures and protocols in order to participate fully in Plan A. Families are required to complete the student accountability and required health protocols. Students should read, document, and sign the acknowledgement form at the end of the document. Forms should be returned to your first period teacher by Friday, April the 16th. Students are expected to comply with face covering requirements at all times during instructional periods, riding school vehicles, and during school-sponsored events. Families may request a face covering accommodations by completing the accommodations form and returning it to Mr. Flowers or Mr. Ship along with supporting medical documentation. Members of the COVID-19 response team, along with Ms. King and the student's alpha counselor, will review all face covering accommodation requests and supporting medical documentations provided by families. Again, this is the conclusion of our return to school video for Plan A and for Virtual Academy students for the remaining of the fourth quarter. We're looking forward to your return, and we will see everyone beginning Thursday, April the 8th.